My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Roethke. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. We romped until the pans slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. The hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped the buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm caked hard by dirt, then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt. The poem that I will be discussing in this essay is My Papa's Waltz, written by Theodore Roethke. Theodore Roethke was born on May 25th, 1908 in Saginaw, Michigan. He then passed away on August 1st, 1963 at age 55 in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Roethke had a pretty rough childhood for many different reasons. One of the biggest reasons being that when he was only 14 years old, his uncle committed suicide and his father died of cancer. Roethke spent most of his childhood with his father and uncle in a greenhouse they had built. A lot of Roethke's work was based on nature and the view that he had from the greenhouse. He mentions the view from there sometimes in his writings. Roethke attended the University of Michigan. While at the university, he earned a BA, magna cum laude, and Phi Beta Kappa in 1929. In 1936, he then received an MA in English. He attended the University of Michigan School of Law. He then left and went to the University of Harvard to attend graduate school. While at Harvard, he studied under the poet Robert Hillyer. Soon after that, he abandoned his graduate studies due to the Great Depression and went on to become a professor and teach English at many different colleges. In the year 1940, he was expelled from his position and he returned to Michigan. While he was teaching at Michigan, he started to suffer from manic depression, which actually helped him with poetry. The last place he had a teaching position was at Michigan. The poem My Papa Waltz is a very negative poem. The author makes that very clear in some of the first lines of the poem. There are many things that can be portrayed throughout the poem. One of the first things that the reader can grasp from the poem is that the father is an alcoholic. The poem makes it very clear by mentioning how the boy would get dizzy from just smelling the whiskey off of his father's breath. Another thing that the reader can interpret from this poem is that the father was not only an alcoholic, but he was also abusing his son at the time. In the poem, the author mentions that his mother's countenance could not unfrown itself, basically meaning that the mother is insanely sad, that she is hopeless and useless in a situation where the father is beating the child due to the fact that the father is most likely not thinking straight and could injure the mother as well. I really like this poem due to the fact that the author did not blandly say that his father was an alcoholic and abusive, but he put it in terms that portrayed those words and made the reader think a little and figure it out. Instead of saying that his father was abusive, he said his father's waltz, a dance. I really recommend this poem. That if anybody wants to read it, go ahead and do it, due to the fact that it's a very good poem and it makes the reader think a lot about how the author uses his words
and what he really means by them.